I am James PFP. We're waiting for 9 seconds to elapse and then we will be back live to YouTube. And let's see. Here we go. Should be working right about now. Waiting on. Looks like the health to the stream is good. I've got some stuff lined up here on YouTube again, as in the last couple of days. I did spend some time outside the house today looking for like local news stories or local items of interest. I think I'll be getting some film tomorrow, more than likely. In the meantime, an item which has crossed to like this Debbie Wasserman Schultz aide arrested trying to flee the country. This has happened twice.
All right, everyone. Debbie Wasserman Schultz's IT aide is in some real hot water, and I think the Democrats right now are more nervous than they have been in the past because it looks like the dawn of major political scandal, assuming that we can get any accountability at all. Now, here's the problem in D.C. Because of the deep state, which isn't so much a sum total that's actually cobbled together, but really separate compartmentalization within the government. It's more complex than just, oh, there's some council of Illuminati controls everything. It's more like a bunch of different backstabbers have their own agendas, really want to take command of different bureaus and groups and congressional offices, and they constantly, fuck around with one another. But generally they work towards the same goal of centralization and tyranny because it tends to benefit them. They're all corporatists, because if they weren't, they wouldn't be getting that sweet corporate cash. In the wake of super PACs existing at all, it's basically the only way they can be in office unless they were very well known to begin with, didn't have to raise money, or they were independently wealthy like Trump. Imran Awan, one of Little Debbie's IT aides there, and apparently his brother too, was improperly using information within the sort of democratic offices. That is, this IT aide was apparently getting money from Pakistan and Iraq. Wife tried to flee, was allowed to go. He tried to flee, was detained, and now he's got like an ankle bracelet on. So it's going to stop him from fleeing, by the way. He'll fucking take it off and put it on a dog, and then he'll like go to Mexico or something, and you'll never hear from him again. And the DNC will help him to escape if they think it's in their best interest. So you better watch his house pretty well, DC police. You better keep a double guard on there just to make sure. So he'll be tunneling out. They'll airlift him out via drone if they can stop a major scandal from erupting. But he was getting like six-figure sums and sending six-figure sums. Was improperly using info. It was known that he was doing this a long time ago, and Debbie Wasserman Schultz only fired him very recently. By the way, you might as well have not even bothered, because then that gets it into the news even more. Again, Debbie Wasserman Schultz is shit at strategy. She was the one running the Democratic Party during the whole, hey, let's screw Bernie and force him to raise money for his opponent period. So I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these Sanders progressives jump down the throat of the DNC and think this looks fishy too. And they're all further left than Hillary Clinton. Like, they pathologically hate the neoliberals at this point for shafting their candidate. Good, it helps get a little bit of accountability going. Then we've got Scaramucci there. And he comes out and makes some cryptic comments about contacting the FBI and links Priebus,
He was asking
no less, in his comment on Twitter. And so people are thinking, oh, is there some sort of collusion there with White House leaks and Priebus backstabbing people within Trump's inner circle? And I think the answer is yes. I called it how I saw it about a rinsed penis a long time ago. Of course, he's not even a rhino. He's just a globalist.
Rinsed penis.
He doesn't even care about the partisan issue. He'd probably become a Democrat if they'd pay him more. As far as Debbie Wasserman Schultz's IT people, it looks like their primary job was to get all sorts of dirty info and send it to other countries for money or something like that for the Democratic Party. It looks like they were selling state secrets or something like that. These are people who are actively in office getting their material gone through by people who are from one of the countries I believe listed on Trump's a travel ban. Actually, isn't Pakistan on that list? I wonder why he chose those specific states. Seems to have something in common with Huma Abedin too. I wonder why these states are on here. I wonder why it was so mysterious to people. Well, why aren't these other Islamic nations that are more geared towards actually terrorism on the list? Maybe it has something to do with people working for the Democratic Party. Have we thought of this possibility? Makes it easier to keep them from fleeing now, doesn't it? Oh, yeah, you're not going to be able to come back from this country that's feeding you six-figure sums on a regular basis. I wonder why. And here you have the story of a part-time worker supposedly getting 150 grand. Part-time IT work, 150 grand. Wow, that's a sweet job. Real sweet job, especially when for months you've been under active investigation for wrongdoing and you're still employed. Wow, that everybody could get such fringe benefits. So we don't necessarily know a huge amount right now about what specifically went on. We know that it's fishy. We know it's a scandal. How large is the scandal, and if anything is going to be done about it, that escapes right now our knowledge. And it could be very, very quick that we find out if tweets by Trump and Scaramucci and some of these others, and some speculation about the real goals of the Mueller investigation are any indicator. If that's all real, and not just a theater show, not just a distraction, not just propaganda or a stratagem employed to take heat off of the Russian bullshit. If that's all real, I think we're walking into the biggest political scandal of U.S. history. Like, it'll dwarf Nixon, it'll dwarf Watergate. And it won't be Trump at fault, it'll be the Democratic Party. And probably a bunch of Republicans, too. Essentially everyone that's facing off against Trump and holding court with the media. And according to WikiLeaks, of course, we know that they directly coordinate. The media was in lockstep with the DNC. The DNC also shafts outsiders. We know that there's some shit going on in the Democratic Party, and it extends beyond the Democratic Party. Trying to say, by the way, can I point this out? You need to stop saying, oh, those dirty Democrats. It's not just the Democrats. They are in league with a bunch of Republicans. Have you not seen what McCain has been saying and doing now for many months? Or Rinsed Priebus, Rinsed Penis, I call him, and some of these other folks? Do you not see that they seem to be working for the same goals?
Nazis.
Why do you think that is? And then we find out that people are getting money from the Middle East. I wonder why some of these people oppose the travel ban. I wonder why those specific countries were on the list. Maybe there was a foreknowledge of some places that people were actually working from and had loyalty to that don't involve even like the Saudi Arabians or something. Maybe we might be looking at the uncovering of the deep state that exists, for all we know. But we've got to wait and see. Even odds are that this all gets covered up and nothing comes of it. It'd be like Hillary Clinton's private servers. She broke the law. She knew she was doing wrong. James Comey knew this full well, too, and told us all this, but couldn't even prosecute her. He's like, well, what am I supposed to do? She's a presidential candidate. I don't really want to cause a civil war. It's not exactly on my to-do list for the day. I'm just going to take a back seat and warn the American voters a couple times, including a few days before the election. Hey, Hillary Clinton's crooked. But I can't say that fucking openly because I'll get in trouble for it, and I'm worried she might win, and then she might make my life living hell. So I'm just giving you all a warning in really vague terms, but anyone with any intelligence can figure out what the hell I'm saying. That's what James Comey did. That's why the Democrats hated him at the time. Then he comes out, deflects off on Trump, with a total nothing scandal that involves memos he can't even produce, and everybody goes haywire, and then all of a sudden they love him again. Oh, don't can poor Comey. Yeah, we called for his head a month ago, but now things are different. Trump's in office. Oh no, evil, scary fascist. I wouldn't be surprised if the fact that Trump doesn't really seem to care about his approval rating or about obstruction is because he already knows all of this dirt because he spent 25 years rubbing elbows with these people. I think he knows how deep the rabbit hole goes and what these politicians and their allies really get up to, especially in the fiscal game, because of course they probably partner with the same Russians they now deride and invested in Trump's own properties. You think they don't use slush funds for such things?
Exactly.
You think that they don't use some local organization to funnel money overseas to make investments indirectly that'll benefit them in order to get campaign contributions of greater value down the road? You think, why wouldn't they do that? It would be a sound campaign strategy, and it's technically kind of sort of legal. You know, if you uncovered that it was happening, it would be illegal, but nobody can uncover it. Well, everybody benefits, including a bunch of Russian oligarchs. You think Trump doesn't know this stuff goes on? He spent years and years partying with these people. He donated to these people. He got investments from these people. He held meetings with these people. He's been in bed with these people, maybe literally over time. So why would I assume that he's ignorant of all these things going on? Maybe he's really that pissed off at it. Maybe Obama's joke pushed him over the edge. Maybe it was 9/11. Maybe it was, he discovered that his ex-wife was banging some politician. Who knows exactly what the cause was? I think he's headhunting these people. And I think if that's actually the case, and this isn't just political theater, he'll be successful, honestly, in doing so. It's beginning to look a lot like an apocalyptic sort of situation for the U.S. political system. And it doesn't even involve Trump mobilizing his Boy Scout brown shirts. Wow, who would have thought a few days ago that that could possibly be the case? I thought he was Hitler and stuff. That's about all. Peace out.
I thought he was Hitler and stuff. Exactly. I mean, I am tempted to listen to this one, but it would be more pertinent to go to here first. This is Hard Bastard's take on the same news story. I would imagine Styx, Hex, and Hammer is where he got it. Gonna let the bumper play. Figure that's only, nice of me. There's a lot of green spill on this thing,
man. A bit of an update, and what is hopefully the walls caving in on Debbie Wasserman, Dragonface.
Dragonface.
Wasserman Schultz arrested trying to leave the country. Imran Awan, a House staffer, at the center of a criminal investigation potentially impacting dozens of Democratic lawmakers, has been arrested on bank fraud and is prevented from leaving the country while the charges are pending. A senior House Democratic aide confirmed Awan is still employed by Debbie Wasserman, Dragon's Face, as of Tuesday morning. But David Damron, a spokesman for Wasserman Schultz, later said that Awan was fired on Tuesday. I see. So she finally fires him after he is arrested. Awan pleaded not guilty on Tuesday to one count of bank fraud during his arraignment in the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia. Awan is accused of attempting to defraud the Congressional Federal Credit Union by obtaining a $165,000 home equity loan for a rental property, which is against the credit union's policies since it's not the owner's primary residence. Those funds were then included as part of a wire transfer to two individuals in Faisabad, Pakistan. Awan was arrested at Dulles Airport on Monday evening before boarding a flight to Lahore, Pakistan. Lahore. Lahore.
Well,
that's probably incorrect, but I like Lahore. His wife, Haina, probably also incorrect, Alvi, has already left the country for Pakistan, along with their children. Federal agents do not believe Alvi has any intention of returning to the U.S., according to a court document. Awan was released on Tuesday on a high-intensity supervision program, according to a DOJ spokesman. He must wear a GPS monitor, abide by a curfew of 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., and cannot leave a 50-mile radius of his Lorton, Virginia home. He was also forced to surrender his passports and is scheduled to reappear in court for a preliminary hearing August 21st. This is clearly a right-wing media-driven prosecution by a United States Attorney's Office that wants to prosecute people for working while Muslim. They will, I mean, look, it just helps our cause. It just helps our side, the side of reason, when you will bring identity politics into every fucking thing.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, here you have a case of clear wrongdoing. this guy's a fucking criminal and he's a scumbag. And you're going to say it's because he's Muslim. Give me a fucking break. Awan's attorney said in an email declaring his client's innocence. Super chat, Bread Moth. So what happens first? Does Imran crack and spill the beans? Or does he suddenly become an addition to the Clinton body count suddenly? It's funny, when I'm reading this, after I hear Bread Moth's first option, I immediately think to the second option, they'll probably kill him.
They'll probably kill him.
And then, of course, yes, absolutely. We're on the same page there. Yeah, he might end up mysteriously hung by a trash bag or no, he's not in jail. I guess
in jail, right?
Under the suicide conditions of a prison cell. If he's going to be home, perhaps a gym accident or one of those things will transpire. Thank you again, Bread Moth, for the super chat. I appreciate it. Yeah, I guess I'm voting for the he'll be suicided. I mean, you look at the stress that Debbie Wasserman Schultz was under when she was trying to get that laptop from the police chief. Yeah, he's going to end up dead. I think he's going to end up dead. And it'll be just another one of those coincidences that only a conspiracy theorist would even dare talk about. The identity politics pimp of a lawyer also said, a quick glance at what the government filed in court today confirms the lack of evidence or proof they have against my client. I want someone, Master Yogurt said, a piano will fall on him. I want a long-time IT staffer who worked for more than 24 House Democrats, has been at the center of a criminal investigation on Capitol Hill for months related to procurement theft. Several of his family members, also IT staffers at the time, were implicated in the ongoing investigation. Most Democratic lawmakers cut ties with Awan and his family after the criminal investigation came to light in early February, but Awan has continued to be employed by Wasserman Schultz, although it's unclear what his job duties are, given he has been barred from accessing the House IT system for months. Alvey, another House staff member involved in the Capitol Hill investigation, left the country with their 3 daughters, headed for Pakistan in March, according to an affidavit filed in the Awan case. Alvey had numerous pieces of luggage and more than $12,000 in cash, FBI agent Brandon Merriman wrote in an affidavit. So I'm very pleased to see this happen. I don't know what this is going to end up doing for Debbie Wasserman Schultz, or by extension, I guess, Hillary Clinton. I have no idea. Usually, nothing happens to people like that. But maybe this will be an exception. At least Wasserman Schultz is in a position where, like, Queen Hillary, it would take quite a lot for people to turn on her, because that's what's going to happen when you have people that are above the law. The only time they're prosecuted is if people kind of either get some sort of incentive to turn on them. And so that would probably be what has to happen with Hillary Clinton. In the case of Debbie Wasserman Schultz, I think she's, obviously lower level. I mean, she's still a powerful individual, but I think she's going to obviously get thrown under the bus before Queen Hillary. So maybe it'll come down to that. That's going to be fascinating to see what this is really all about in regards to what exactly was going on here. Why did Debbie Wasserman Schultz keep him on the payroll this long? Why didn't she fire him earlier? Why was she so nervous in that meeting with the police chief? These are all very interesting and pertinent questions.
Thank you very much, Hard Bastard. We're going to follow it up with some more Hard Bastard from, I presume, what he was broadcasting today on HNN. That's the Hard News Network. We're going to come along to this one. I haven't watched any of these yet myself.
So apparently we are starting back up the attacks on YouTubers and PewDiePie. Now, part of this could be because it seems as though PewDiePie has among his normal style videos, has been engaging in videos and making videos about, one was about the gender wage gap, one and how it's bullshit. This one is just trolling the media, trolling the idiots that think Pepe is a actual hate symbol. And so Mike.com has picked up on it, and in typical retarded Mike fashion, PewDiePie, YouTube's biggest star, is leaning into his new far-right following. Far-right. Far-right. When Felix PewDiePie Kellberg, YouTube's most lucrative, popular superstar, uploaded a video featuring a banner emblazoned with the words, "Death to all Jews." See, this is a perfect article to do after the one that I just did. You have a clear joke. And again, if you have a problem with the jokes, if you don't like the jokes, if you say the jokes are offensive, fine, I have no problem with that. But I would hope you would be able to distinguish the difference between a joke, whether you think it's a good one or a bad one, and Muslims seriously calling for the slaughter of all Jews. I hope you could differentiate. And I think that it's ridiculous that this is what they make a big deal out of. And we have Muslim imams calling for the death of all Jews, calling them filth, and nothing is done. It's quite all right. Along with a man dressed as Jesus saying Hitler did absolutely nothing wrong. He insisted it was just all jokes made in bad taste. Well, that's what it was. That's simply what it was. After losing his partnership with Disney, which was spawned by the Wall Street Journal and the three assholes, Kellberg apologized, saying he was just poking fun at the modern world. But attempts to distance himself from his message didn't deter the so-called alt-right from accepting the Swedish social media star as one of their own, nor did Kellberg's insistence that he wanted nothing to do with them. As laughable as it is to believe that I might actually endorse these people, to anyone unsure on my standpoint regarding hate-based groups, no, I don't support these people in any way. Well, Felix, don't you know that that's not good enough? You must, you are going to not be allowed to define your own position. People are going to assign it for you and then hold you accountable for the position they make up in their own fucking mind, because we're dealing with a vast sea of retards when it comes to shit like this. Kellberg Shellberg, I believe it is, may not support them, but in the few short months since his anti-Semitism scandal, far-right celebrities have become Shellberg's favorite new bedfellows. So let's see if the people that they're calling far-right, are they going to resort to the Ben Dixon level of research, which is shitty and embarrassing, or are they actually going to point to people who are actually far right? Well,
yeah, let's keep the
in a
balance
video
here.
of Shellberg playing a game called Passport, the Starving Artist, he used the in-game painting feature to put up illustrations of Donald Trump. Okay, Donald Trump is not far right. You're fucking retarded if you think he is. A sketch of CNN's face on the autistic screeching meme. Dummy, everyone hates CNN. Everyone is united in hating CNN except people who are corporate shills and perhaps the drooling pussy hat wearers.
Oh,
and a hand-drawn Pepe, well known as an innocent green frog comic, co-opted by the far right as a racist dog whistle. Oh, why are you so stupid? You're not. You actually know better. I think these people know better. For all his prior work insisting he wants nothing to do with hate-based groups, he appears to have made a sharp pivot. Could you explain to me how the fuck this has anything to do with hate-based groups? You're making up bullshit. You're making up complete bullshit. I already explained Pepe yesterday. I'm not going to go over it again. Over the past few weeks, PewDiePie's gone back and forth with alt-right celebrities like Lauren Southern, while far-right talking heads like Paul Joseph Watson. Paul Joseph Watson is not far-right. Lauren Southern, I think, has moved a little further right, I think you could say, but I still wouldn't consider her far-right. she's, well, I would say she's in a bit of a transitional period. We'll see what happens with her. Kellberg, for a video in which Kellberg said, the only reason people perpetuate the idea of a pay gap between genders is to make themselves feel better. So let me get this straight. Not accepting the absolute bullshit that the gender pay gap is, that it is 10 minutes on Google. It's easily debunked. What, not accepting that lie makes a person far right? Interesting. Arthur Brogdon, super chat. John Wayne never apologized. It's a sign of weakness to SJWs. That's blood in the water. Oh yeah, because they don't want apologies. They want to completely. I mean, what would you even? What would
power
you say
trips.
In that situation? They just want you completely destroyed. There's no reasoning with them. They're just complete lunatics. I completely agree with that. Thank you again for the super chat. And then last week, far-right conspiracy theorist extraordinaire Alex Jones. So yes, we're going the Ben Dixon route of research. We're labeling people like Paul Joseph Watson and Alex Jones far-right. You guys are fucking lunatics at Mike. Send a tweet to Kellberg asking the famous gamer to slide into Jones' direct messages. The PewDiePie account followed Jones back, presumably so they could speak in private. Oh my God. They must be talking about all sorts of Nazi shit. They must be planning the second Holocaust. Embracing PewDiePie offers an enormous opportunity to the right. America's youngest generation of voters overwhelmingly prefers socialism to capitalism, and presidential candidates like Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders to President Donald Trump. I would check that. I don't know how accurate that is. I mean, granted, they're still formulating their beliefs, but I think if you think that the youngest generation is going to vote Democrat, you're making a very crucial mistake at this point. The right is clinging to meme culture and social media as a possible inroad with a demographic fleeing from traditionalist values. This person is clueless. This person writing this, if you are on the right, you are reveling in what I'm about to read to you, because it just shows you how clueless they are. They have no fucking idea where they are. If you are on the right, you have your opponent not only beaten, but completely lost into how to even get their bearings. Listen to this fucking cluelessness. The right is clinging to meme culture and social media as a possible inroad with a demographic fleeing from traditionalist values. And there's no better megaphone to trot out reactionary politics to a generation of young gamers like Kellberg, a YouTuber with over 55 million subscribers, who considers himself a martyr of mainstream media scrutiny. They are clueless. That is amazing. That is amazing. When InfoWars' Paul Joseph Watson tried to convince Twitter that conservatism is the new punk rock, nobody was buying it. Are you sure about this? You can mock Paul Joseph Watson for saying that, but that's different than whether or not he's right. And if you don't like the phrasing of it, that it's the new punk rock, if you can pick some other phrasing that you want to use, but if you think that this younger generation is going to join the SJWs, you're out of your fucking mind. You're just wrong, and you're going to pay for that.
He's right.
In 2018
they're not going to.
and 2020. We'll see what happens if one of YouTuber's biggest superstars starts selling it. So Jack Smith, the fourth, is completely clueless and apparently is trying to make a career off of lying about PewDiePie. It's just fascinating that whether it's the politicians, whether it's the people in the media, on the Democratic side are so clueless. This article is just like, it reminds me of that pathetic press conference that the Democrats had when they were rebranding. It was a joke. It was a complete joke. They're finished. They are absolutely finished.
Thank you again, hard bastard. One more at least.
Hey guys, I'm Carly Kloss, and I just created my own website with Wix.
Go to Wix.com to create your stunning...
Bye. Fuck Wix.
This is, I mean, the Russian hacking thing is so finished, but I thought this was a very interesting article. Intel vets challenge Russia hack evidence. In a memo to President Trump, a group of former U.S. intelligence officials, including NSA specialists, cite new forensic studies to challenge the claim of the key January 6th assessment that Russia hacked Democratic emails last year. Executive summary. Subject was the Russian hack an inside job. Forensic studies of Russian hacking in the Democratic National Committee computers last year revealed that on July 5th, 2016, data was leaked, not hacked, by a person with physical access to DNC computers and then doctored to incriminate Russia. After examining metadata from the Guccifer 2.0 July 5th, 2016 intrusion into the DNC server, independent cyber investigators have concluded that an insider copied DNC data on an external storage device.
His name was Seth Rich.
Implicating Russia were then inserted. Key among the findings of the independent forensic investigations is the conclusion that the DNC data was copied onto a storage device at a speed that far exceeds an internet capability for a remote hack. Of equal importance, the forensics show that the copying and doctoring were performed on the east coast of the U.S. Thus far, mainstream media have ignored the findings of these independent studies. Not only have they ignored them, but when people go on from the Trump administration, when they go on CNN, lunatics like Jake Tapper try to bully them into accepting this clear lie. This is a clear lie. I think one of the reasons that now they're going so hard to Trump's finances is they realize there's nothing here. They can't get him on anything. So now they have to go into the finances. But there's a problem with the finances. If you find a crime from 1986, what do you think you're going to do with that? The only way Trump's finances become an issue is if you can provide evidence that Donald Trump engaged in a business transaction with someone from the Russian government in exchange for hacking the election. But what they're trying to do is claim that the hacking took place, and therefore now all they have to do is find a business deal with a Russian. But that's not going to work. That's not how the law works. Author Brogdon Super Chat. HHHMMM Dragon Face Minions, perhaps. Oh, yes. Very possible. I wonder if they're ever going to find out who it was. That's a good question. And it's going to be interesting to see where does what's going on with the IT staffer that was just arrested, like, do they have anything to do with this? Like, what exactly? This is just going to be fascinating. Hopefully this all comes out and it's not just covered up. Independent analyst Skip Folden, a retired IBM program manager for information technology US, who examined the recent forensic findings, is a co-author of this memorandum. He has drafted a more detailed technical report titled Cyber Forensic Investigation of Russian Hack and Missing Intelligence Community Disclaimers. And sent it to the offices of the Special Counsel and the Attorney General. VIPS member William Binney, a former technical director at the National Security Agency, and other senior NSA alumni in VIPs attest to the professionalism of the independent forensic findings. In recent forensic studies fill in a critical gap. While the FBI neglected to perform any independent forensics on the original Guccifer 2.0 material remains a mystery, as does the lack of any sign that the handpicked analyst from the FBI, CIA, and NSA who wrote the intelligence community assessment dated January 6, 2017, gave any attention to forensics. This is very damning. This is very damning. Why didn't they look into this? I think we all know the reason. Note, there has been so much conflation of charges about hacking that we wish to make very clear the primary focus of this memorandum. We focus specifically on the July 5th, 2016 alleged Guccifer 2.0 hack of the DNC server. In earlier VIP's memoranda, we addressed the lack of any evidence connecting the Guccifer 2.0 alleged hacks and WikiLeaks, and we asked President Obama specifically to disclose any evidence that WikiLeaks received DNC data from the Russians. Addressing this point at his last press conference, January 18th, he described the conclusions of the intelligence community as not conclusive, even though the intelligence community assessment of January 6th expressed high confidence that Russian intelligence relayed material it acquired from the DNC to WikiLeaks. Obama's admission came as no surprise to us. It has long been clear to us that the reason the U.S. government lacks conclusive evidence of a transfer of a Russian hack to WikiLeaks is because there was no such transfer. Based mostly on the cumulatively unique technical experience of our ex-NSA colleagues, we have been saying for almost a year that the DNC data reached WikiLeaks via a copy leak by a DNC insider, but almost certainly not the same person who copied the DNC data on July 5th, 2016. For the information available, we conclude that the same inside DNC copy leak process was used at two different times by two different entities for two distinctly different purposes. Number one, an inside leak to WikiLeaks before Julian Assange announced on June 12, 2016, that he had the DNC documents and planned to publish them, which he did on July 22nd. The presumed objective being to expose strong DNC bias towards the Clinton candidacy, and two, a separate leak on July 5th, 2016, to preemptively taint anything WikiLeaks might later publish by showing it came from a Russian hack.
Right.
Mr. President, this is our first VIPS memorandum for you, but we have a history of letting U.S. presidents know when we think our former intelligence colleagues have gotten something important wrong and why. For example, our first such memorandum, a same-day commentary for President George W. Bush on Colin Powell's UN speech on Friday, February 5th. No, that's not Friday. I don't know why I saw Friday. Speech on February 5th, 2003 warned that the unintended consequences were likely to be catastrophic should the U.S. attack Iraq and justify the war on intelligence that we retired intelligence officers could readily see as fraudulent and driven by a war agenda. The January 6th intelligence community assessment by hand-picked analysts from the FBI, CIA, and NSA seem to fit into the same agenda-driven category. It is largely based on an assessment not supported by any apparent evidence that a shadowy entity with the moniker Guccifer 2.0 hacked the DNC on behalf of Russian intelligence and gave the DNC emails to WikiLeaks. The recent forensic findings mentioned above have put a huge dent in that assessment and cast serious doubt on the underpinnings of the extraordinary successful campaign to blame the Russian government for hacking. The pundits and politicians who have led the charge against Russian meddling in the U.S. election can be expected to try to cast doubt on the forensic findings if they ever do bubble up in the mainstream media. But the principles of physics don't lie, and the technical limitations of today's internet are widely understood. We are prepared to answer any substantive challenges on their merits. You may also wish to ask CIA Director Mike Pompeo what he knows about this. Our own lengthy intelligence community experience suggests that it is possible that neither former CIA Director John Brennan nor the cyber warriors who worked for him have been completely candid with their new director regarding how all of this went down. Copied, not hacked. As indicated above, the independent forensic work just completed focused on data copied, not hacked, by the shadowy persona named Guccifer 2.0. The forensics reflect what seems to have been a desperate effort to blame the Russians. I wonder who was behind that. For publishing highly embarrassing DNC emails 3 days before the Democratic convention last July. Since the content of the DNC emails reeked of pro-Clinton bias, her campaign saw an overriding need to divert attention from content to provenance, as in who hacked those DNC emails. The campaign was enthusiastically supported by a compliant mainstream media they are still on a roll. The Russians were the ideal culprit. And after WikiLeaks editor Julian Assange announced on June 12, 2016, we have emails related to Hillary Clinton which are pending publication. Her campaign had more than a month before the convention to insert its own, quote, forensic facts and prime the media pump to put the blame on Russian meddling. Mrs. Clinton PR chief Jennifer Palmieri has explained how she used golf carts to make the rounds at the convention. She wrote that her mission was to get the press to focus on something even we found difficult to prospect, the prospect that Russia had not only hacked and stolen emails from the DNC, but it had done so to help Donald Trump and hurt Hillary Clinton. Independent cyber investigators have now completed the kind of forensic work that the intelligence assessment did not do. Oddly, the hand-picked intelligence analysts contented themselves with assessing this and assessing that. In contrast, the investigators dug deep and came up with verifiable evidence from metadata found in the record of the alleged Russian hack. They found that the purported hack of the DNC by Guccifer 2.0 was not a hack by Russia or by anyone else. Rather, it originated with a copy onto an external device, a thumb drive, for example, by an insider. The data was leaked after being doctored with a cut-and-paste job to implicate Russia. We do not know who or what the murky Guccifer 2.0 is. You may wish to ask the FBI. Here is the time sequence. June 12, 2016, Assange announces WikiLeaks is about to publish emails related to Hillary Clinton. June 5th, 2016, DNC contractor CrowdStrike, with a dubious professional record and multiple conflicts of interest, announces that malware has been found on the DNC server and claims that this evidence was injected by Russians. June 15th, 2016, on the same day, Guccifer 2.0 affirms the DNC statement, claims responsibility for the hack, claims to be a WikiLeaks source, and posts a document that the forensics show was synthetically tainted with Russian fingerprints. We do not think that the June 12th and 15th timing was pure coincidence. Rather, it suggests the start of a preemptive move to associate Russia with anything WikiLeaks might have been about to publish and to show that it came from a Russian hack. The key event, July 5th, 2016. In the early evening, Eastern Daylight Time, someone working in the Eastern Time Zone with a computer directly connected to the DNC server or DNC local area network copied 1,976 megabytes of data in 87 seconds onto an external storage device. That speed is many times faster than what is physically possible with a hack. It thus appears that the purported hack of the DNC by Guccifer 2.0, the self-proclaimed WikiLeaks source, was not a hack by Russia or anyone else, but was rather a copy of DNC data onto an external storage device. Moreover, the forensics performed on the metadata reveal that there was a subsequent synthetic insertion, a cut-and-paste job using a Russian template with the clear aim of attributing the data to a Russian hack. This was all performed in the East Coast time zone. Obfuscation and deobfuscation. Mr. President, the disclosure described below may be related. Even if it is not, it is something we think you should be made aware of in this general connection. On March 7th, 2017, WikiLeaks began to publish a trove of original CIA documents that WikiLeaks labeled Vault 7. WikiLeaks said it got the trove from a current or former CIA contractor and described it as comparable in scale and significance to the information Edward Snowden gave to reporters in 2013. No one has challenged the authenticity of the original documents of Vault 7, which disclosed a vast array of cyber warfare tools developed, probably with help from the NSA, by CIA's Engineering Development Group. That group was part of the sprawling CIA Directorate of Digital Innovation, a growth industry established by John Brennan in 2015. Scarcely imaginable digital tools that can take control of your car and make it race to over 100 miles per hour, for example, or can enable remote spying through a TV, were described and duly reported in the New York Times and other media throughout March. But the Vault 7 Part 3 release on March 31st that exposed the Marble Framework program apparently was judged too delicate to qualify as news fit to print and was kept out of the Times. The Washington Post's Ellen Nakashima, it seems, did not get the memo in time. Her March 31st article bore the catching and accurate headline, WikiLeaks' latest release of CIA cyber tools could blow the cover on agency hacking operations. The WikiLeaks release indicated that Marble was designed for flexible and easy-to-use obfuscation, and that Marble source code includes a de-obfuscator to reverse CIA text obfuscation. More importantly, the CIA reportedly used Marble during 2016. In her Washington Post report, Nakashima left that out, but did include another significant point made by WikiLeaks, namely that the obfuscation tool could be used to conduct a forensic attribution double game or false flag operation because it included test samples in Chinese, Russian, Korean, Arabic, and Farsi. The CIA's reaction was neurologic. That's interesting. Neurologic. I'm butchering that. I apologize. Director Mike Pompeo lashed out 2 weeks later, calling Assange and his associates demons and insisting it's time to call out WikiLeaks for what it really is, a non-state hostile intelligence service often abetted by state actors like Russia. Mr. President, we do not know if CIA's Marble Framework or tools like it played some kind of role in the campaign to blame Russia for hacking the DNC, nor do we know how candid the denizens of CIA Digital Innovation Directorate have been with you and with Director Pompeo. These are areas that might profit from early White House review. Putin and the technology. We also do not know if you've discussed cyber issues in any detail with President Putin. In his interview with NBC's Megyn Kelly, he seemed quite willing, perhaps even eager, to address issues related to the kind of cyber tools revealed in the Vault 7 disclosures, if only to indicate he has been briefed on them. Putin pointed out that today's technology enables hacking to be masked and camouflaged to an extent that no one can understand the origin of the hack, and vice versa. It is possible to set up any entity or any individual that everyone will think that they are at the exact source of the attack. Hackers may be anywhere, he said. There may be hackers, by the way, in the United States who very craftily and professionally passed the buck to Russia. Can't you imagine such a scenario? I can. Full disclosure. Over recent decades, the ethos of our intelligence profession has eroded in the public mind to the point that the agenda-free analysis is deemed well nigh impossible. Thus, we add this disclaimer, which applies to everything we at the VIPS say and do. We have no political agenda. Our sole purpose is to spread truth around and, when necessary, hold to account our former intelligence colleagues. We speak and write without fear or favor. Consequently, any resemblance between what we say and what presidents, politicians, and pundits say is purely coincidental. In fact, we find it necessary to include that reminder. Speaks volumes about these highly politicized times. And all of these people have signed this letter. This letter went to the president. I hope he got it. I hope he read it. We used to, I mean, a lot of this shit we talked about in January. Now we have the evidence that proves that what we were all saying was accurate, or what we were reporting. I mean, the people in the industry were the ones pointing this shit out. Now we have the evidence of that. We have evidence that Russia is bullshit. The Russia hacking is bullshit. We have the evidence now. It is not physically possible for it to have taken place in the manner in which they have claimed that it took place. It's not possible. It's not possible. What are you going to come up with next? This is a very important article, or letter, I guess you would call it. And I would say that tweet this to as many people as you can. But once and for all, the Russia narrative has been proven absolutely fucking false.
Yeah, the Allen brothers are involved in a cover-up. That's what they are. One more.
This is interesting. Just watch how they, on CNN, how they change or move the goalposts, I guess you could call it, when it comes to, I believe this video is about Jeff Sessions.
Kushner that he wrongdoing administration.
Oh, okay, no, this is okay. What this is they're talking about Jared Kushner, and they're talking about meetings with Russians and what have you. What they've done is, if you take Jeff Sessions, and even in the clips that they show, if you simply pay attention to the question, you can see that the Kushner meetings do not meet the standard that the question was about. And let's begin.
Here in Washington was something we rarely get from the Trump administration, an admission. It's not an admission of wrongdoing, just an admission by Jared Kushner that he took a few meetings with Russians. Before meeting with Senate Intelligence Committee staffers today, Kushner released a statement offering his first public account of what he says were 4 meetings with Russians during the campaign and transition.
What were you doing at the grave of General George S. Patton Anderson?
The Russian investigation.
Did he roll over? Did he roll?
Something. For months now,
you see his ass,
very rare times he's answered questions on camera. The president, as you know, has dismissed anything involving Russia as fake news.
Yes, because it is fake news, you
Russia
fucking idiot.
is fake news. This is fake news put out by the media. The entire thing has been a witch hunt. It's all fake news. It's all fake news. I have nothing to do with Russia. This Russia thing with Trump and Russia is a made-up story.
Now, it's very important to, like, what is he talking about? He's talking about, you have to hold them accountable for the lie, because they try to get away from it. It's the classic liar's negotiation. They know that you're not going to buy the lie, so they have to change it, move the goalposts, make it more palatable. The lie is that Russia and the Trump campaign colluded together to rig the election in their favor. That's the lie. Jeff Sessions and all of the people that have been asked, they're talking about meetings with Russia engaging in collusion. So if you had a meeting with Russia, for example, or a Russian, and they also, you know, they just say Russians. So it's pretty much any person from Russia they include in this. But what it really is, and the definition really is a person that works for the Russian government, meeting with someone from the Trump campaign, going over strategy for the next hack, going over, you know, what are we going to do next? If you subscribe to the bullshit that RT and Sputnik releasing articles that are, quote, damaging to Hillary Clinton as part of this, then you would again have a meeting where the Trump campaign is telling members of the Russian government to release this article, release that article. That is what the standard is, to make the claim that the Trump campaign colluded with Russia. Now, the media is trying to move the goalposts because they have no evidence of anything like that. Now they're trying to move the goalposts to say that basically if you were in the same room with a Russian, then that is collusion. That's what they've been saying that about Jeff Sessions.
Talks about an airplane made in a Russian titanium.
You have to go back to the actual question that Al Franken asked Jeff Sessions. He asked him a very specific question about a report that turned out to be fake news, that James Comey even testified under oath saying that it was wrong, about the Trump campaign colluding with Russia to hack the election. So that is the context. You must never forget that, because they are trying to move the goalposts and hold the Trump administration to a standard that no other human being in America is held to. Would you want to be held to a standard that if you're in the same room with the person of Russian descent, or if you talk to them, or if you have completely normal meetings that politicians have on both sides with people like Kislyak, that somehow that's nefarious? It's bullshit. It's complete fucking bullshit. Arthur Brogdon super chat. So 53 million American voters were what? Co-conspirators? Right, exactly. That, I mean, if you use their standard, everyone is a co-conspirator. Also, they have even gone as far as to suggest that people that worked at Sputnik or Jared Kushner, who I believe worked on the digital campaign of the Trump administration, suggesting that if they like retweeted an InfoWars article that was, quote, damaging to Hillary Clinton, that was actually colluding with the Russian government and treasonous. This is completely, not only is this insanity, but there's no legal basis for any of this.
Can you say whether you are aware that anyone...
No.
So you're not aware of any contacts during the course of the election?
How many times do I have to answer this question?
Now, keeping them honest, the answer to the question has changed because today nobody that I know...
The answer to the question has changed. Oh, you fucking liars. You can't ask the same question twice because it gets refuted, and then you ask another question to try to say something else, but you don't actually come out and say it. You don't ever hold to your fucking... You don't even hold to your own arguments nor stories once you get busted. Fuck off, Anderson Cooper.
Who have had
lying fuck.
Colluding with Russia to hack the election. They always forget that part.
4 meetings. No collusion, he says, just attended the meetings. This is after the president and his team not only denied anyone connected to the campaign met with Russians, but seemed offended by the question itself.
Yeah, why wouldn't he?
Did any advisor or anybody in the Trump campaign have any contact with the Russians who were trying to meddle in the election?
Do you notice the question? Did they have any contact with the Russians that were trying to meddle in the election? The answer to that question is still no. There is no evidence that the Russians who were hacking the election supposedly... Now we've... By the way, I'm operating in the field of that it could have happened. I'm giving them that much of the benefit of the doubt. We just went over a article that shows that it is absolutely 100% bullshit. But even if you grant them their original bullshit argument, they don't even have enough evidence for that. No. Even if you say that the Russian hacking happened, you still don't have evidence of collusion with the Trump campaign, telling them what to do, organizing.
You know why, right? In Soviet string theory, evidence finds you.
You know, releases of information. You have nothing.
Well, of course not.
Are there any ties between Mr. Trump, you or your campaign, and Putin and his regime?
And again, notice the question, and Putin and his regime. And what does that mean, ties? Let me give you, we're going to go over a brief article where they try to suggest that, like, Donald Trump, this is what they mean by a tie. Okay, here's an example. In an article I'm about to go over after this video, they suggest that Donald Trump sold in like 91 a couple apartments to a person who is a, quote, Russian oligarch. And that by selling those apartments to that Russian oligarch, Donald Trump is somehow responsible for any of the crimes that that oligarch has committed. There is no law or statute that runs this way. This is not, like, it's nonsense. It's pure fucking nonsense. So when they say ties, it allows them to be like, well, you had a meeting. You talked with a Russian. It's possible to talk with a Russian and not do anything untoward. Yeah, the other day I did an article just about the legal statutes in regards to all of this. And of course the media ignores all of these things because there is absolutely Nothing here. And what's hilarious is the chyron here says, not fake news, real facts. Give me a fucking break.
No, there are not. It's absurd.
Did anyone involved in the Trump campaign have any contact with Russians trying to meddle with the election?
No.
Notice again, Russians trying to meddle with the election.
Absolutely not.
We don't know of any contacts with Russian agents.
Those conversations never happened.
And this is time and time again, lie after lie.
Why would there be any contacts between the campaign?
Now, why there would be contacts is a question that remains to be answered. What we know...
You fucking asshole! Oh, you fucking asshole! Oh, Anderson Cooper, you're such a fucking asshole. Oh, Anderson.
His own admission.
That is
Anderson, quit while you're ahead, buddy. Get the fuck out of your job now.
Anderson, from the Russian government that were meddling or hacking the election.
It's time to quit, buddy.
Can you show me them? I would like to know that.
You're going to end up eaten by a ravenous mob of zombies.
Jared Kushner now says he met with Russians. He just didn't collude with them. Manu Raju has the latest on all the day's developments. So what else did
So I'm going to skip over here. We're just going to get to the panel because the panel is where the real bullshit happens.
It's Ryan Lizza and Gloria Borger. Gloria, I mean, Jared Kushner is essentially saying, look, I didn't read the full email chain that Donald Trump Jr. sent me. There's no defense of Donald Trump Jr. in this. He's essentially just saying, I went to this meeting, had no idea who the participants were. I don't remember how many people there were, and it was boring, and I asked my assistant to call me so I could get out.
Right, like he was on a bad date, saying, just call me to get me out of this meeting. What he didn't contest was the known facts about the meeting. He didn't in his testimony say when I read
hang on here. Donald Trump Jr. Donald Trump Jr. is not the same as Donald Trump. They don't even get this, right? The connection.
That
right?
These were
so
Russians, and Don Jr. was thrilled about getting the dirt on Hillary Clinton.
Bitch.
None of that is illegal, Gloria.
So
it's true.
His testimony
You'd have paid for it as CNN
for what
too.
It didn't say
liar
as what it did say, and I will
liar.
Also that, we have known
fucking
about
liars.
these meetings.
A panel full of liars.
Kushner had a lot of opportunities if
CNN,
he wanted to say these.
When are these bastards finally going to start eating one another?
One of the interesting things about a news cycle, and one of the ways to detect bullshit, is like the fact that these meetings were known to the public, I believe, in April. But in April, I guess they were going. Was April anti-Semitism month?
Yeah.
I forget. I remember. No, that was February when all the Jewish cemeteries were being vandalized and all of that shit. I don't know what the news cycle was in April, but apparently these meetings were not a problem in April.
With Gorkov, with Kislyak, et cetera, he portrays him as completely innocent, and that may well be.
Fucking CNN.
Isn't it fascinating once in a while when it slips in there? Oh, they may well be innocent. You have no evidence of anything else, yet you are 95% of the time acting as if Jared Kushner broke the law.
But throughout all of this, he didn't deny that these meetings took place.
Why would he need to deny that the meetings took place? There was nothing wrong with the meetings. They were not illegal.
Yeah.
Right.
I think one thing that the investigation will be looking at is inconsistencies in his testimony. So on the one hand, with the email about the Trump Tower meeting in June of 2016, Kushner says, well, I didn't even read that whole exchange, because obviously there was one part of that is very...
I see them all as existing on a lifeboat. I really do. I see them all on the lifeboats after they know that the boat, like they're sitting in the lifeboat waiting for it to be lowered into the water because they know the ship that they're on is fucking sinking. And when it finishes fucking sinking, they're all going to go to the bottom with her. The reason is they're all sitting aboard the goddamn lifeboat. Not one of them has enough sense to put the lifeboat down in the water. They know that they're going to go down in the water, and then the next thing is going to be someone demanding that the rest give up their lives. So that
isn't it fascinating that they won't even go as far as to claim that the emails are incriminating? Isn't that interesting? I wonder if that has to do with the fact, because you notice CNN is more careful than MSNBC now. And I have to wonder, remember we read all that shit about the shareholders were upset with Jeff Zucker. Remember CNN got in trouble with Scaramucci, and they had to fire 3 people, and they had to make a retraction and issue an apology. I wonder if that's why. I mean, they won't even say these emails are incriminating. That's incredible.
father's campaign, and we want to give you some information. So he's saying, huh, I didn't even read that part. I knew nothing about the meeting. On the other hand, he talks about an email he got from this bizarre account called Guccifer or something or other.
4,000.
Right?
And we just read about Guccifer.
He read that one, and he actually took it to the Secret Service and said, is this anything I should be worried about? So I think little things like that, the investigators, when he goes before the House Intelligence Committee, will be...
So let me get this straight. Even though it's a complete lie about Guccifer and Russia, and now we've learned the truth about that. Yes. And we have the evidence. The man got something from what you think is a Russian spy or a Russian hacking operation and immediately took it to the Secret Service. Isn't that what you're supposed to do? This is just incredible.
Be honing in on and you know.
Remember, the reason he paid attention
like they haven't got any brains of their own, you know.
To release all of
like they really are fucking zombies,
which they didn't want to release. I mean, I
but
think
they're not Romero zombies. No.
First of all, there's the tortured process
they're evil,
by which
dead
Jared
zombies.
Kushner has finally revealed all of his meetings, which is disorganization at the very least, or it's something worse. But I think what we're piecing together, which has nothing to do with the investigation itself, perhaps, is that these folks were open for business. Donald Trump has never taken a threat from Russia seriously by his own statements, and he still doesn't as President of the United States. His son, his son-in-law, apparently they all thought it was just, you know, typical opposition research. They weren't worried about it. Kushner's talking about...
Yes, they didn't buy into the narrative that we have now found out. Again, if you missed it, this video will be on the Hard Bastard channel. Not that we've just found out. I mean, we've known this for quite a long time. But the entire Russia narrative is bullshit. And you are now criticizing people for not buying a narrative that we now know is a lie. That's bullshit.
Perhaps setting up a secret channel to get information from Russian generals about Syria. So that is so negligent and so naive that you would want to turn to people who actually know something about this, who could tell you, you shouldn't do that. They don't appear to have done that.
Also, if Donald Trump Jr. is to be believed, he is told in that email that the Russian government is backing his father.
Right.
Didn't sound like it was new information to him, but at the very least, that's pretty big information. If Donald Trump Jr. is to be believed, he never discussed this with anyone, not with Paul Manafort, not with Kushner, and not with his father. That's a lot of information for Donald Trump Jr. to be holding on to.
It is.
There's in a small office where they were all there on that day.
And you know what? The reason you have this kind of naivete that's being put forth for Jared Kushner, or this ignorance for what was really going on, which is ironic given that this person who's trying to resolve the Palestine-Israeli conflict cannot get out of his own meeting, let alone understand and read his own emails. They're doing that because, in the legal terms, he does not want to have the knowledge, does not want to have the intent that everyone's been talking about. If he is not knowledgeable about it, he could not possibly have the intent to break the law or collude. And so he has a vetted statement.
Knowledge of what crime, dumbass? What crime are we talking about? They're not going to state it because there isn't one.
That he put forth that was vetted exponentially by his lawyers, I'm sure, with an attempt to say, this is a conscious decision. You will be the naive, overwhelmed, inexperienced person on this team, because while mastermind may be a political asset in terminology, mastermind is a scapegoat in the legal terms, and he does not want to be that person.
But he said in his statement that he contacted Henry Kissinger at one point to get some advice, but he made it very clear in his statement that this was kind of new territory for him. And he even said that when he suggested this general-to-general meeting in the Russian embassy, that both Flynn and Kislyak said, no, you can't do that. So he just sort of showed, or was trying to show, how naive he was.
But I think, Anderson, your point that is important, which is there's information that comes across the transom saying Russia wants to help your father win. There's nobody who doesn't know that that's potentially very inappropriate.
Bullshit. That's complete bullshit. What is wrong with Russia wanting Trump to win? Russia would have likely had to go to war had Hillary Clinton won. There were interviews with people, I forget who it was, but they absolutely worked in the Russian government. It wasn't Kislyak. I think it was the other guy. Looks like an ape a little bit. When they asked him, who do you want to win the election? And he said, well, if Hillary Clinton wins, it looks like it's war, and if Donald Trump wins, it looks like it's not war. So Donald Trump. There's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Aside from just kind of cheering on the part of Vladimir Putin. And there were enough people around, lawyers, other foreign policy types, who could have been giving advice, including Flynn, unless he was so compromised that he was giving contrary advice, who wouldn't say, put the brakes on this. And that's really the point, is that the president is acting like he has something to hide and is contemptuous of even the suggestion that Russia was meddling. You know, you talk to business leaders, they understand that there are relationships with Russian business folks and American business folks, but even they understand that's different than saying you're going to get involved in affecting the election.
They didn't care. That's what I think is the timeline now. In June...
they didn't care about your bullshit narrative? Oh...
The email that says the Russian government wants to help your dad win. In October, you get the senior intelligence official saying the Russian government is helping Trump win, right? And then in December, during the transition, you have, as you said, open for business, the Russian officials coming in and talking, and there's no evidence that they ever once at any of these meetings raised the Russian interference in the election. They just didn't care about it.
You are asking them, again, to care about something that wasn't true. That people knew wasn't true, they knew wasn't true. Complete bullshit.
One freebie at the end.
All right, everyone. Extremely rich, politically connected Michelle Obama wants you to cry for her because she's the victim of racial discrimination in this country. Wow. So multi-millionaires who married a former president and who have like Secret Service agents around them at all times and live in a mansion in the D.C. area and who can vacation anytime they want and who get like the presidential pension bucks and everything else, you're being discriminated against. Oh, really? Would you like to give some concrete examples of this? No, I don't mean people criticized you. Because people criticize politician hacks like yourself all the time without racial animus. I can criticize, for instance, John McCain, he's my fellow white man. You would think I would thus want to defend him for some odd reason if I had racial intent in mind. But he's a moron, that's why I attack him. He's got bad ideas. He probably shouldn't be in office because he's probably at some point going to have some massive neurological issues because he's got fucking cancer in his head. He probably should resign, but he's too stubborn to do that. He'll be on the Senate floor one day, and he'll just feel faint and keel over, and he'll say, well, I did my job. I dragged myself out as long as I could. With people like the Obamas, very few people judge them based on the color of their skin. They base their judgment on the content of their character. I think Martin Luther King would approve, you know, Martin Luther King, who was hilariously, largely a Republican individual. Yeah, the party switched. Okay, I'm not going to get into that fucking debate. It's worthless. You're trying to boil down dozens of substantial issues into one homogenized core. It just doesn't work that way. But here's the point. Michelle Obama deserves to be criticized. In her capacity as a non-elected official, by the way, and we've got to be honest when saying that. Largely, the First Lady does not determine policy. School lunch policy was her big issue. That is, we're going to have Obama lunches now. You know, we're going to give you smaller portions and more wilted greens and more cases of food poisoning, which is totally retarded. It makes absolutely no sense. It cost a lot to implement this program. It didn't actually raise the food standards at all. We're still giving kids swill that wouldn't even be deemed fit for prisoners. We have for a long time. It's a little bit of an issue within schools anyway. You want to make them pay more to give kids even crappier food. And that's her signature piece of work as First Lady in that ideological, non-elected capacity. Moreover, you're married to someone who deeply hazarded the United States, proclaimed that there was a massive recovery going on that didn't trickle down to, small town America and certain parts of the United States at large. It basically affected the urban coastal regions and everyone else got left behind. But Obama loves the urban setting, so he doesn't care about those little Bible-thumping, gun-toting rubes out there in the hinterlands. He just doesn't care about them. That's why the Democrats lost the last election. And this is a Hillary Clinton strategy, by the way, that Michelle Obama's using. Probably going to run for the Senate or something in the future. Basically, pity me. I'm an outcast because of the color of my skin. Much like Clinton drummed up support, said, oh, I'm a former first lady with name recognition. I'll wait a while and then I'll run for the Senate and I'll say, hey, I'm female, vote for me. And it worked on the state level because you're in a deep blue area. Oh, Michelle Obama could certainly do that in the D.C. region. And then fails to become the president because the nation at large rejects the argument of, oh, I have to vote for her, otherwise I'm a sexist. Including among college-educated white women. Yeah, not exactly the most white male cis-fuck demographic that you could think of. Now, that's really what they do. They try to break people apart constantly, then they wonder why people are mad at them. That's really what they do. And what would you say, by the way, since you want to boil down all criticism of your ideas to racism, which you're not giving any concrete examples, so I'm assuming you mean your critics in general. In essence, everybody's racist if they don't deeply, deeply adore you like you're the living fucking messiah. What would you say about, like, the Doctor of Common Sense, or maybe Ben Carson, or somebody like that? You know, someone who's black and thinks you're scum. What would you say about them? No, you don't have much to say, do you? Now, the Democratic, like, super fans, the super partisans, they actually do have something to say. They use racial terms to describe them, too. If you confronted them with a couple of Doctor of Common Sense videos, what would they say? Oh, he's a brainwashed Oreo or something like that. They would use racial terms to describe him. Now, isn't that funny? I thought that the bigots were the ones that were attacking the Obamas. They could only possibly have race in mind, not ideology. And again, what about those of us who will cast our criticism at any random white Republican individual too? Because sometimes they're fucking morons. John McCain's a moron. Lindsey Graham's a moron. Rick Scott's a moron. A lot of these people are Pat Robertson's a moron. And they're all white. They're also all male and like lean to the right, but they're still morons. You are a moron. Michelle Obama is a crazy woman who thinks that it's a good idea to tinker with an already crappy school lunch program, and then she wants kudos for it, like it's a major piece of work. It's a major policy shift. It really, really benefits the U.S. No, it doesn't. That's why the policy got ripped apart recently. One of the first things Trump ripped apart, and good on him for doing so. We made school lunches tolerable again. We made them edible at least again. Not tasty, not good, but they're edible. You have 10% less salmonella cases. Now, we do need an overhaul of the school lunch program in the direction opposite what Michelle Obama wanted to do. Really, though, criticism of her goes in hand in hand with the fact that her husband is Barack Obama. And here's the secret. She's not like Melania. Melania sits in the background, says very little, other than occasionally coming to defense of Trump, and especially her son, because people keep trying to drag him. It's like he's a little kid, and people are trying to talk about the way he acts as though it's indicative of Trump's policies or his mental state or something. He's an awkward, 11, 12-year-old kid. Of course he's going to occasionally act awkward. What, you didn't at that age? And people want to drag that, as though it has any substantial meaning. That's real hard-hitting journalism right there. And journalists in this country that love the Obamas, oh, they fucking love them. They never ask them hard-hitting questions. All they do day after day now is ream Trump over and over. Evil frog posters, evil right-wingers, evil Nazis everywhere, Hitler, Trump is orange orangutan buffoon. That's all they talk about now. It's all they every single day, every headline is Trump related, and it's always something negative. When's the last time they talked about anything else? It's so boring. With Obama, it was just a love fest. But here's the thing, Michelle Obama put herself out there to be criticized by delving into policy and delivering public statements and talking politics on the Ellen DeGeneres show and stuff like that. That's why she opened herself to criticism. She became a public figure. Melania, meanwhile, doesn't really care about that. She just stays in the background. It'd be more like Laura Bush style. Comes out, reads to some kids, goes to a couple of DC parties, and really doesn't meddle in the policy much. Is only occasionally seen really in public at all. That's more the way the Trumps do it too. With the Obamas, it was different. It was more of a power couple pairing. It was more like the Clintons or something. Of course, Hillary was very, very visible during the Clinton administration, and she sowed the seeds of her own demise by being so. She managed to defend her husband, and there were some who admired her for doing that. But she opened herself up to criticism by giving people hours and hours and hours of public statements she had made to reanalyze when she ran for the presidency. And there are some people who do this, and there are some first ladies who don't do this. And Michelle Obama happens to be one of the first ladies who did. Oh, all of my husband's critics are racist is basically what it boils down to, at least in her mind, apparently. Well, you're totally, completely wrong. A lot of his critics are people who aren't even white. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that the Democratic Party never stood for any progressive causes.
Maybe it's something to do with the fact that Barack Obama is career CIA.
It really didn't. You took a backseat on every so-called bit of progress that this country ever made. You took a backseat on everything. Meanwhile, Barack Obama was too busy talking about how we needed more gun control, as though it was a popular issue to harangue about.
Yeah.
That was basically, for several years, that's all he did. He didn't get anything else accomplished. Here, shitty health care and some scandals involving mass surveillance, and I pissed off Russia and started a new Cold War. Sorry, folks, bye. Please vote for Hillary Clinton as my the one to continue carrying this tattered banner for me. And they wonder why she loses, and Obama comes out and says, "Oh, Trump won't be president, don't worry." How wrong you were. So much for your omnipotence, Mr. Messiah. That's about all.
Figured as much. Thanks, Styx. So yeah, if you're interested in seeing more content of the same nature, you can find Styx X and Hammer on YouTube here, as well as Hard Bastards. Won't be forever that I'll be rebroadcasting stuff through, but for the time being, it's an interesting way of going about it.